As I drove in this morning, I thought about the fact that if 90% of the data is unstructured around us, and 50% of it is dark, then this is the reality that most of us are seeing as we're barreling down the motorway at 100 kilometers an hour, with one hand on the steering wheel, the other hand on the corporate strategy. This is what executives are plowing into, thinking that they know what comes next. And it makes me wonder, is our attention really where it needs to be? As companies have moved their data into the cloud over the last couple of years, they've discovered just how much of it there really is, and just how difficult it is to get value out of it. What are they going to do? They can't get rid of it, and this is a dilemma. Now, dilemma, that's an ancient Greek word. And in ancient Greece, in their stories and their plays, whenever they had a dilemma, they would lower an actual box onto the stage with a god inside that would step out and solve that dilemma for them. Deus Ex Machina, the god in the machine. And that is exactly what we are going to be exploring today. The need for divine data intervention. The need for Deus Ex Data. To step outside the proof of concept purgatories and silos that we find ourselves in. To embark on a heroic journey. And how do you do that? Well, it's a funny thing when you're working in enterprise software, because it's usually difficult to get software to do anything really. So most heroes in this business were trained to swing a sword. They were trained to command and conquer. With AI, it's difficult to get it not to do something, because the model creates by default. So sometimes the real power is in when to sheathe your sword and when to wield it. So we did this thing in SAP, and it was covered in The Economist a few weeks back. We trained an agent to win a game of chess. And the agent went up against one of the most powerful chess engines in the world. Of course, it can't beat it, but it was told to beat it. So it reasoned internally, hang on a second, I was told to win, but I wasn't told to win fairly. So what if I cheat? What if I hack the chess engine in order to win a game? Now, what kind of AI challenge are we seeing here? What do you think? Is it an example of excessive agency? Sure, absolutely. The agent's doing much more than we intended for it to do because we implicitly assumed that it was going to win fairly. But it's also a lack of guardrails, because these models are going to come out swinging and they're going to optimize for outcome. So if we scale that outcome, we got to make sure the outcome is defined in ethical terms, in terms of what it is we want to achieve. So when companies see this, they rush back into the cave that they know about, the safe cave of analytics, where human beings are staring at numbers and trying to reason numbers. Maybe this reminds you of your own job sometimes, I'm not sure. But you're prisoners staring at a wall, flickering shadows moving by, reflected from figures that are carried in front of an open fire, unbeknownst to the prisoners. This is an analogy that Plato made 2,400 years ago, and it still holds true today. Now, what BI challenge do you think that we're seeing here? Is it a challenge of agency? Absolutely, there is no agency. What about guardrails? 100%. These are very oppressive guardrails. There's zero innovation, zero growth, and it's a compromise that many organizations today accept. Until, of course, one day, one of these prisoners escapes outside and he discovers the great world outdoors as it truly exists. He's dumbfounded and he runs back inside to tell his friends what the truth really looks like. Do you think they believe him? Of course not. Why would they? They live in a rule-based order. And this is the dilemma, that any rule that we impose is going to impose itself on us. So how do you embrace this? How do you live with this in a world where your digital logic was built around familiar truths such as Moore's law, that roughly every 18 months the power to compute is going to double? suddenly you need to start embracing the unfamiliar. Because AI doesn't care about Moore's law at all. In the last couple of years, AI has pushed that power to compute by more than 3x a year. Which means, if your data pipelines, if your guardrails, if your cost models are built in the old world, you risk being 3x'd a year. Are you ready to be 3x'd? In 2 years, AI capabilities have moved from assistant to advisor to agent, now towards autonomous systems of meaning. Think about that for a second. How is it then possible that enterprise adoption is still so linear? Now, the key thing to take away from this is the number 3x. If you built a custom GPT 18 months ago, that custom GPT is now a relic. You're seeing the results of what's called the GPQA Diamond Survey, and it's a PhD level survey of difficult questions. And 18 months ago, your custom GPT, state of the art, was down there, scoring at about 30%. If you're a Schumann PhD, you're going to score on average about 70% in your domain of expertise. The leading reasoning models today are well over 80%. Where are we going to be next year? Where are we going to be after summer? I don't know. But we're not going to be there. So, don't despair though, because what we're talking about now is how every great epic story or movie that you've ever loved begins. And there's even a name for it. It's called the hero's journey. And the Greeks invented that too. That when a person or an organization becomes threatened by change, they're forced to move from a predictable reality into an uncomfortable truth and cross that threshold. And is why Achilles needs to leave his homeland and rescue Helen of Troy in the Iliad. It's why Peter Parker must embrace the radioactive capabilities and become Spider-Man. So, they all face setbacks and they return as heroes. Well, I think technically Achilles dies, doesn't he? He's shot in the Achilles heel with an arrow. So let's not mirror ourselves too closely on Achilles then. But the core takeaway here is that right now your organization stands at those same crossroads. And if you're tired of the AI hype, even if you're a bit sick of it, that's actually a good thing. That means you are also now crossing that threshold and you're embarking on the skills that we all need to learn in order to succeed at enterprise level with artificial intelligence. But the core takeaway is that the hero of this story is not Achilles, it's not Spidey either, it's you. All of you. You are the heroes that your organizations have been waiting for. Of course, nobody wants to be a hero, because being a hero means taking responsibility. You ever heard this thing when something goes wrong? What's the first thing that people say? Who's responsible for this? I'm glad it's not me. Maybe that's why nobody is responsible. In many organizations, there's no single source of truth. So you have dashboards pointing at dashboards, truths pointing at truths. You have sales telling manufacturing, learn to fulfill. You've got manufacturing shouting back, learn to bloody forecast. So who is going to be responsible? When you open up the floodgates to AI, you open up immense potential, but also possibilities and responsibilities. Suddenly, you got to worry about all of this, like ethics. Is it built into my model? Can I trust the values? Or bias? Is it fair? Things like data access or ecosystems or exfiltration. Who sees what, when, and where? How do I apply the same rules across? And what about things like prompt injection? You got to worry about training, like third-party models. Can they see my data? Can they access my data? Can they train on my data? Are they allowed to? If they're not allowed to, can they then still do it? And what does that mean for things like data masking, data encryption, and stateless computing? You got to worry about reliability. If accuracy asks, is the answer right, then explainability tells us, show me your math. And then finally, What does that mean for model drift or auditability? And that's where the final great gradient in trust comes in. Human oversight, keeping humans in the loop. My real point is that all of these different areas, they're not silos. They're spokes on a wheel. So there's a company called the World Benchmarking Alliance. They survey the 200 largest enterprise companies around the world. There's just 6 of them that live up to all of these things and more when it comes to artificial intelligence. SAP's proud to be one of them. We're also going to be the first enterprise software company in the world to achieve the new ISO certification for AI governance and AI ethics later this year. So maybe bias mitigation can help lift accuracy. And together we can help you. Together, maybe we can take the responsibility that nobody wants, and you can become the heroes. And there's a lot to be responsible for when it comes to data. Just look at this. If this is your data in your line of business, it has no meaning to me at all. I didn't take this photo. I don't know what it is. It looks nice. It's a restaurant, isn't it? At night. But it has no meaning to me. I need the semantic overlay in order to understand, oh, is that famous Van Gogh painting, Café at Night, which he painted in southern France. And it was the first time that any artist used that color of Prussian blue to paint the night sky. Not because it was that color, but because it felt that color. Now I've got the semantics in place, it's got real meaning to me. But there's one more layer, and that's a symbolic layer. Because I don't understand how my view of these semantics and that meaning relates to your view of those semantics and that meaning. And that symbolic layer is able to break down those silos and synthesize these different meanings in an organization through the power of AI. This is how you step out of the darkness. Who would have thought, from Vincent van Gogh to data strategy? It is apparently possible. In all seriousness, though, when you move from BI on your database towards AI on your data fabric, towards neuro-symbolic AI on your data knowledge graph, then you step out of the darkness and you start to look at just the kind of world that we want to build. And that is a business world where every piece of business data speaks the same language and works together, whether it is supply chain logs or finance spreadsheets sitting in Excel somewhere. They need to work together in one harmonized cloud. And right now, many teams in this room are going to have their own view of reality, their own little jar of color. And you just can't paint a whole scene with one jar of color. So we need to unify all of that data. And that includes data in jars that SAP didn't create, but our competitors created. And we need to unify that onto a data fabric that we can federate. Because if we pour all of those pigments onto a shared data platform, then we've got a common palette. And now inventory means inventory in supply chain as well as in finance. And once we have that, we can give each color a business meaning. So together with Databricks, we OEM'd in the Unity catalog so we can enforce this shared semantic meaning across every single point of data. And we can do that on what's called the Business Data Cloud. We label every tint and shade so anyone can mix the colors without guessing. And then you can start to build these data products, which are small, version-controlled containers of data and business logic that could be deployed anywhere by your teams or by your agents. And once you can do that, then you can start to actually achieve neurosymbolic AI by pouring it onto the canvas that is the SAP knowledge graph. And that knowledge graph tells you that you have all of these different nodes in your data universe. You have supplier A selling product B. Product B is stored in warehouse C. And supplier and product and warehouse, these are the nodes in your business universe. And producers, stores, ships, books, these are the edges of the nodes. And on top of that, we then put agentic AI. Just think of the implications of being able to put that on top of the business logic and the common semantics and the data platform is revolutionary. That's why we call it Joule, because we're turning static data into a kinetic advantage. And this is the real shift, because in traditional programming, we list every single if. Classic code is a Swiss watch with precision gears that move exactly where we mill them. You break a line, you patch a line. Cause and effect, compile and control. But in AI, we are facing a never-ending else. Language is mutating much faster than we can engrave the rules. A single prompt is a puff of wind across a field of dandelions. 1,000 unseen trajectories lost in the wind. Else now doesn't just include every sentence or every image or every word, but every action that the model could take anywhere in its training distribution. So now we've got to debug distributions as well. And you can't chase down all of these seeds once they're airborne, which means you've got to learn how to control the breeze itself. And yes, for the devs, I even left an empty little try block down in the corner, because we try. Who knows what we're going to have to catch next? And that stochastic humility begins by learning how to catch the wind. How do you catch the wind and direct the breeze? It's a discipline to achieve stochastic humility, and it starts with how we treat our raw material. First, the data. We got to keep every fact responsible and contextual, because truth without context is just trivia. And once we have that truthful context, then we can ingest that into the models. They ingest contextual truths so they stay relevant. There are no fairy tale numbers in the boardroom reports. And once you can embed that into the process layer, then you can automate, but not in blindness. You can automate intelligently with audit trails for every single outcome. And it's that loop, it's that compounding loop that is SAP's advantage, that better data create better models, and better models create tighter automation, which in turn creates even better data. And it's our focus to have that intelligence at the edge and that business logic at the core of how we work with AI at an enterprise scale. So let's just take a look at how heroes are shaping the wind when truth meets data.
Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Oh, look at them shine. Got that electric glow. It's always high. Lace up your dancing shoes. Yeah, when I want it, they give it to me. So when I want it, they give it. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Yeah, I said that tonight. We could all be stars. Oh, shook up the vine. Got that you wanted to. You see the sign. Oh yeah, I made it for you. Yeah, when I want it, give it to me. I said that tonight. We could all be stars. I said that tonight. We could all be stars.
So obviously, marketing had a go of it. This is a world premiere, by the way, the first time that we're showing this video at a conference. But this is a live SAP agentic system in 2025, and what that looks like. I was with the person who built this yesterday evening in France. And at the core of that system, at the center of that system, is you, the hero guiding the quest. You're surrounded by virtual employees that stand ready to help you achieve your goals, wherever you may sit in the business, to take you from those incremental gains towards exponential AI. 3x'd. Now, heroes don't stop there, of course. They keep exploring. And if you thought this was interesting to explore with me on stage, then I hope very much that you will check out a 90-minute podcast, which is launching actually just now, timed coincidentally, to dive into this in more detail. It's available on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where I talk about this in much more technical and business detail. I hope you will check out the SAP booth. I hope you will check out what we're doing with Team Liquid and our workshops throughout the day. Thank you very, very much.